Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And Blizzard is making massive overhauls to basically every single specialization for the next expansion, Midnight. And the most important decision you can make in a World of Warcraft expansion is what class are you going to play? What specialization are you going to play? So the purpose of today's video is to show you everything that the Windwalker monk has to offer you as a class. What are the most integral changes? What is it possibly losing out on? What is it missing out on? What level of complexity is it? Are you looking for something more advanced, something more simple? These are the types of questions that are going to be answered by the end of this video. And as always, if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. But let's get started. First things first is that this is the Midnight Alpha. Now, it is going to be going into the beta here very shortly, I believe on November 11th. If you'd like a chance to enter to get early beta access, then make sure to head over to my X account. I'll have the giveaway linked in the description down below. You'll be able to follow the instructions to enter the giveaway to have a chance to win an epic edition of Midnight, which will grant you that early beta access so you can start testing out all of these classes yourself hands-on. So that will be in the description down below. Make sure to check it out. Don't miss out on it. And there's likely to be more giveaways as well moving into the future. But right now in the alpha, things are kind of buggy. So the first major bug is that Conduit of the Celestials, Invoke Zwen the White Tiger, is basically getting lumped in here, but it's also taken our Conduit ability away, Celestial Conduit. So I don't know if that's intended or not. I was under the pretense that Zwen was just going to be an added bonus of going Conduit of the Celestials, and you would get to keep Celestial Conduit, because Celestial Conduit is still focused at the bottom of it, but you can see, like, even if you click it, it doesn't talent it in. You don't have it in the spell book, so that's still a little bit up in the air. It seems like Windwalker Monk is still very much so under construction, but they do intend, I believe, to move Zwen over here. So Zwen will not be a keybind unless you're going into the Conduit of the Celestials. Kind of makes sense, you know, given that it is the Celestial hero talent tree. It makes it feel more focused around those Celestials to have him in here, and it does reduce the button bloat a bit, depending on if you want to play Shadow Pen instead, which is going to be a little bit more passive. So they have focused around kind of taking those cooldowns down a notch. Next major change is that they've removed Storm, Earth, and Fire, which, if you've played Windwalker in the past, is when you split into different images and you started firing off damage towards your target. Instead, basically, they've collapsed it into Weapons of Order, and now they've just called it Zenith. So it's like they've fused those two abilities together, and that's something that they've been trying to do. Is they're looking at classes that have like multiple cooldowns, and like, can they condense them down, basically turn them into a Swifty one-shot macro, in order to reduce the number of keybinds. So Zenith is a 1.5 minute recharge. It has the same effects where it reduces the cost of chi, of Blackout Kick, and reduces the cooldown of affected abilities, so it gives you really big cooldown reduction. The window feels really strong, and honestly the animation for it looks really sick. So I'll show you here really quickly. When you activate Zenith, you basically start going like Super Saiyan mode. Your hands start glowing. You're ready to really just fire off with massive damage here, and I really like it so much that I wish like there was a way to make my character just have these glowy hands all of the time, because it looks so cool. Like, it just looks so damn cool to go into this like Super Saiyan mode and attack. But then as soon as it's over and you lose the benefits of that Zenith, you start to significantly notice mostly your energy regeneration rates start to plummet. Even with me speccing into some talents, you can see there's like this big gap where like I can't press any abilities, and this is definitely like right here, I can't use any abilities. So as soon as that Zenith window is gone, you notice a big drop off. You feel like this absolute Super Saiyan god, but then when it's over, you start stalling out really heavily. That's one point of feedback that I would give at the moment. Maybe that's something that they can look to adjust and address into the future, because when Warriors had those problems, they give them better rage management tools, but Windwalker definitely kind of fitting in that boat. It feels like it's still very much so under construction, likely going to need more iteration, but I think reducing the number of keybinds is definitely a good approach. For Windwalker, I'd say it was like moderate advanced difficulty. The next thing you'll notice is that Strike of the Windlord and Whirling Dragon Punch are a choice node, so you'll have to pick between these two. They're both 35-second cooldown. They both do kind of AoE damage. One snares the target. The other one you can use while channeling other abilities to find their benefit. I'm not a sim machine, right? And I promise I'm not AI. And I don't know which one's going to end up doing more damage, but I can only imagine that one of them is going to end up doing more damage. They have modified a lot of the existing talents that worked for one of these talents to work with both of them. So there's going to be new synergies basically to explore here as far as their viability. for what you think is going to be the strongest option, but you can't have both at the same time. So that is going to reduce some of the keybinds there. Another one is Jade Fire Stomp, is just basically being passively baked into Fist of Fury. When Fist of Fury finishes, you'll just release the Jade Fire Stomp. I think it's good that they're keeping like some really cool animations for the class without totally removing them and kind of just baking them in, but it does add a lot of value to Fist of Fury. It also makes it so like Fist of Fury needs to channel all the way through if you want to be able to get the value of this talent. Otherwise, if it gets disrupted, you're probably going to be losing out on it a little bit. And you can notice that Serenity is also gone. So it's basically just everything focused around Zenith instead. Another talent here that I want to kind of debut for you guys and showcase to you guys is that you can get Rushing Wind Kick now. And like, I don't spend a huge amount of time on Windwalker on retail, but I thought this was a Mistweaver only thing. So I am kind of curious to see what this looks like. So after consuming Blackout Kick, you have a 40% chance for Rising Sun Kick to become Rushing Wind Kick. Does that mean it's ranged? Because it's ranged as Mistweaver. So like, are we going to get some ranged attacks here? Let's see if we can get a proc here or not. I'm not going to worry about my hit combo. I'm just going to spam Blackout Kick. And already it's kind of seems like it's a low proc rate if it's even working at all. It might not be working at all since I'm just spamming this and not getting a single proc. I mean, how many Blackout Kicks do I really need to do with a 40% chance? I'm going to put it on cooldown and see what happens. So it looks like this talent might just be like straight up bugged. Or they haven't added like an animation for the tooltip or not. Like, do I get a buff at all when this is going up here? I don't think so. So it looks like this talent, unfortunately, is just bugged. It's kind of sucky. Wanted to give this a go, but maybe I'm not surprised when it says like Blackout Kick and then like there's like a kick with L at the end of it. You see that on the word kick? It's like maybe it's like not coded in properly. But it seems like it's a little bit of extra cleave damage. Curious, it gives you ranged because Windwalker has had like almost no ranged abilities. And Crackling Jade Lightning, like that build where you crackle targets, that seems to be stripped out. We still do have Slicing Winds. So replacing his Flying Serpent Kick, and where you charge up and you zap through the target. So you still have a lot of fantasy there. I'd really like to see like some type of Kamehameha attack for Monk. I feel like focusing in on Dragon Ball Z or even Naruto, because we had Chi Burst, but I think Chi Burst is even gone now. We're not able to do that. I feel like Windwalker really needs that like Dragon Ball Z fantasy and flavor added to it to get people interested in playing it. We have our Apex talents though, and it's Tiger Eye Brew, which has been off and on. I think sometimes it's been a PP talent, maybe other times it was baseline on the class in some expansions, but it's making a return here in a different iteration. While in combat, you'll gain Tiger Eye Brew every 7.4 seconds. It's a very specific number, causing your critical strike chance to be increased by 2% during your next Zenith, stacking up to 20 times. It generates quickly up to 10 stacks while out of combat, so you'll be able to kind of like go pull to pull in dungeons. You can have 10 stacks of it up here, which means I'll have 20% crit chance increase during Weapons of Order, which is crazy. And then I get a 20% crit damage modifier during Zenith. And then Tiger Eye Brew, the final one, you have a chance equal to your critical strike chance to increase the damage of your Fists of Fury by 15% each time it deals damage. So again, a lot of emphasis on Fists of Fury, like fully channeling it all the way through to get the value. It looks like that's going to be very important as far as the rotation, which also I think can help out Shadowpan a little bit because we got new hero talents available, this kind of right side row. Shadow over the battlefield. Flurry strikes deal 811 nature damage to all enemies within 6 yards, reduced beyond 8. Activating Zenith instantly grants 10 stacks of flurry strikes that trigger on your next attack at 70% effectiveness. And Weapons of the Wall. Flurry charge generation is increased by 50% during Zenith. So you can kind of get like that Wind Fury attack where your auto attacks basically proc extra attacks and you're just like attacking really quickly. With Shadowpan, it's a little bit more passive, so you're going to be able, it's going to be kind of maybe similar to Enhance, where you got Stormbringer, which is a little bit more passive compared to Totemic, so you can have a little bit of an easier rotation with this one, maybe a bit more complicated with Celestials. And on the Celestial side of things, Heart of the Jade Serpent, Strike of the Windlord and Whirling Dragon Punch call upon Yulon to increase the cooldown recovery rate of Fist of Fury, Strike of the Windlord, Rising Sun Kick, and Whirling Dragon Punch. So a lot of emphasis into Strike of the Windlord and Whirling Dragon Punch with this one. Yulon's avatar, Heart of the Jade Serpent, additionally triggers for 4 seconds at 100% effectiveness after you cast Zenith. And finally, Heart of the Jade Serpent increases your haste by 10% while active. And there are new talents that focus around your haste. If I can find them onto this right side. Basically, they're trying to like redistribute the power of your stats. Likely, I don't know if it'll be by enough, right? Because this, even if it's off by 0.1%, a sim machine will tell you X stat is better than Y stat. So they're taking a lot of experimentation with Windwalker, trying to reduce the complexity as far as the keybind density. Overall gameplay, though, I would say remains mostly the same, coming from the War Within into Midnight. So like I have 10 stacks of Tiger Eye Brew, so if I activate this, I'm going to get a big Fist of Fury pound onto the target. And during this window of time with Zenith, you've got way more energy regeneration, almost so much so that you can't even get rid of it in a lot of cases. So I would say that it feels mostly the same as the War Within, with a little bit less keybind density. I'm worried that it's going to end up just being cooldown dependent, even though their goal was to try and make it not cooldown dependent. I do have concerns for that. Seems like it's still very much so under construction. I love the Zenith animations. I love the glowing hands thing. I just feel really strong and really powerful during this window. So the cooldown window feels pretty cool. It's a little bit more subtle also than the Storm, Earth, and Fire, but I do also feel like the images were like so iconic to Monk. Like that was the ultimate ability from the Pandaren Monk in Warcraft 3, where I kind of would like to see it come back in some way or in a shape or form as far as animations are concerned, because it seems like they're just taking like a very mist-oriented approach to Windwalker, where the Jadefire Stomp is kind of green and the tea leaves, and it's just really green, and maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay for Monk to evolve into kind of just that green flavor, but it feels like it's missing kind of that Warcraft 3 essence a bit to me. Maybe like putting that into Shadowpan or something, because it's related to pandas. A little bit with that could have been cool, but I would say that it's more or less the same, with a little bit less keybind density than we previously had. We are losing some defensives also, I guess we should note here as well. Diffuse Magic is basically baked in with something else now. When you activate Fortifying Brew, Diffuse Magic effect basically will trigger if you talent for it. So Diffuse Magic won't be an extra keybind. Now this is in line with what they're doing for reducing defensive cooldowns across the board with a lot of other classes, and I think their goal there is to have it so that gameplay is less spiky, which I think a lot of you would agree in the comments down below. Let me know if you don't, where you don't like 100 0 to 100, like constantly having to use these big layers of cooldowns in order to mitigate massive waves of damage, and having the damage staggered a little bit more minimally than it currently is kind of the goal with that. But you are losing some defense. Do want to make sure that letting you know that with this build. Looks like we still do have Crackle, at least for pulling mobs, but I don't believe that there is like any talents. I'm just reviewing this again, that like amplify our Crackle the same way that we had previously in the War Within. So it's kind of more or less the same, but you're probably going to be pretty strong. I hope that the next build is a little bit more fleshed out. And again, I'm going to be playing these classes on stream pretty much every day as things are going on. So tune in live there as well to see as things progress. I'm always relaying the updates, the patch notes to you guys as well, to keep you guys as up to date as possible with the direction of any spec you might be interested in playing for Midnight, because a lot of classes are getting a lot of cool stuff. I'd say Windwalker is kind of staying samesies, and everything's just in line with what's going on with other specs at the moment. So not huge risks, not huge revolutions with it, kind of just where it's at. I'd still say that it's like a moderate level of difficulty, mostly because of the hit combo. Trying to use a different ability basically every time that you attack does add a layer of complexity, and the fact that it doesn't have any ranged abilities for the most part means that you're gonna have to be like dialed in on avoiding mechanics and positioning. So it's much more punishing as far as positioning, and its rotation can be a little bit more punishing. So it's definitely more like moderate level of difficulty. It's not like it's getting uber simplified like we're seeing with some other classes. So if you want that level of difficulty, I think it's going to be a good option for you. I would have liked to see it evolve maybe a little bit more in line with what we've seen from other classes, or just more cool animations that make it have a better fantasy, a better flavor to get players interested in it, because I think Windwalker's probably one of the least popular specs in the game just across the board. It's definitely very niche, but that's my assessment of it right now. Same old basically, with a little bit of condensing of your cooldowns offensively and defensively. So I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown, and I will see you guys in the next video.